Well, well, well. Look who it is. It's everybody. Hello. Welcome back. Happy to have ya. So, I tried recording something for NFL this week and talked a bunch of shit about Seattle losing and basically ruined a lot of what I had because Seattle didn't lose. And I just was a little more inebriated than I thought at the time. And, sometimes it'll sneak up on you. It'll just come up from behind you and just come up and get you. So you better be careful. Should always be careful. Safety first, and then teamwork. Speaking of teamwork, watching a little football, little Russell Wilson touchdown pass to DK Metcalf. How about it? Seattle. So basically, even though I thought Seattle lost last week, I still picked them to win tonight. So I think that is hopefully going to be the case, even though Carson is out and I had to pick up their backup. But anyway, not a lot going on since last week. Definitely not as much viewership, but that's okay. I did not really advertise it that much this time just to kind of see what would happen, but I did get some pretty decent hosting now where you should be able to find this on a bunch of different directories. It should be on Spotify, Spotify and places like Spotify and probably Spotify. But no, seriously, Apple will be coming soon as I can make an ID. And then stuff like Google's podcast directory and, did I mention Spotify? So just places like that, easy places to access it, Buzzsprout, things like that, which you may be listening to it on now. And then I'm still going to try to do the stuff with YouTube, but the past couple ones where I was adding in some clips, I took a couple copyright hits, so I got to be a little more careful about what I'm adding. Not really so much so that I need to be careful, but I've also got to be able to go back and take a clip out easily. So, without YouTube trying to basically trim the entire segment out and then you lose all of the other audio, which is fucking stupid, but I didn't design their dumb shit, whatever. Not that I'm capable of doing any of that shit either, but we all have our skills, Some of us are pretty good at having diarrhea at the mouth. Some of us work on computers. Some people work on cars. Other people fluff dicks for porno sets. You never know where jobs are going to open up. You could be a half-naked maid and come over and clean a creepy professor's house. You can do all sorts of things now. You can monetize everything in your life, all the way down to your vagina or your penis. And you can monetize your brain by crowdsourcing ideas. You can monetize your vehicle, your home. It's an interesting time to be alive. And especially, because nobody pays you any money, so you have to monetize your entire life to compensate for the fact that nobody pays you a living wage. Thankfully, I don't have that problem. I'm fortunate, but I was not for a while. And then I was not for a while. And when you're up and down, you understand how easy it is to get knocked down and stay down. But eventually, things on the outside have to change. Like, pay employees more, take care of your employees, and you might see a lot less turnover, and you might actually see loyalty come back to some of these companies. But the problem is that for the most part, in order to get a raise now, you have to leave and leverage your position somewhere else. And that really just creates this journeyman style of careerhood where you look like a job hopper unless you manage to stay there for 3, 4, 5 years, and then somebody can see some stability. But People harp on journeymen in sports, and they're on there like halfway out. And when one foot's out the door, ready to go. Who knows how these people think of you when your resume comes across? It could just be straight like thrown in the garbage. I know back in the day when people were working at the mall and take an application, you'd watch them throw it away. Not mine personally. But I mean, I've been on the other side watching one of my managers do it. So, things are not always in your favor because people's biases will come out really quickly. And it's strange how quickly that can happen. But, we're all victims of our own opinions, aren't we? Like, we think that they're facts a lot of the times and get them mixed up, but it actually is one of my favorite little bits in Inside Out, one of those Pixar movies. It's fucking Christ. When my wife was pregnant with my daughter, that thing made me bawl my eyes out like a little baby. It still does because I want my daughter to play hockey, but they have a train of thought, and on the train of thought are facts and opinions, and the little girl's imaginary friend in the movie knocks over both of the boxes and they get mixed up, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, that happens all the time." And it's true. In life, we're just walking around throwing around what my friend called tier 1 knowledge, which I think is absolutely fucking hilarious. Just knowing shit on a baseline level. And it was further proven to be true when my other friend was telling a story about somebody using their rudimentary knowledge about arsenic and thinking that immediately any dosage of arsenic would kill you, when really, depending on how little you're exposed to, it could do absolutely nothing. And there's other uses for it and all kinds of different things. So again, just people like to spout out just this level 1 knowledge, like, "Oh no, arsenic bad, I'll die." But they've never looked into it as far as like what the deadly dosage is for arsenic. And so you get that level 1 information, like you read the headline, you maybe read a paragraph, you don't go any further, or you have to like watch the video instead of reading the article. And it's funny, it's like sometimes you wish you could go back and you could just rewind time and just go to a point when you were just innocent again. And it's because ignorance is bliss. It truly is. Like, before you get to a point where you really start caring about this stuff, and then it's something you have to think about on a regular basis, and you talk to other people about just casually, even without that being the first portion of the conversation starting that way, but you end up weaving it into this, like, what I think is a healthy discussion. Like, people need to be able to discuss these things. And I know that a lot of the things that you see on YouTube and TikTok and Reddit and all that shit, where there are other people filming people's experiences, all that is still a smaller number of occurrences than you think it is. It's just because it's being put out to millions of people who are seeing it, it feels like it's a bigger deal than it actually is. And that's what's going on with a lot of things happening right now, is you've got a lot of vocal minorities that are, they're getting things done, but what a lot of people don't want to admit is that we're in another like civil rights era. And those are difficult times. And in difficult times, you've got to figure out who you are as a people. And I don't know if anybody's had this thought before, but there's always that saying about hard times make hard men, soft times make soft men, that whole thing, the war and peace debate. Like, you have to have war, but you have to have hard men to fight the war. And after the war, you have soft men because there's peace and there's no reason to be hard. Well, being on the high tail end and not really identifying as a millennial, but being put in that subcategory of human beings, since we need to label everybody everything, like, for whatever reason. But so being in that category of person, it creates a little bit of a interesting scenario, but there's just so much going on where people feel the need to latch on to things and just that becomes their opinion. They don't open their mind up to anything else outside of that opinion. It doesn't matter where the source came from. You know, it could be Facebook bullshit. It could be fucking The Onion and you mistook it and thought it was real. There are people forming their opinions off of that tier 1 knowledge of fucking reading the headlines. And until we preach critical thought, we're going to be having that problem. But, you know, going back to the whole hard times, hard men thing, because admittedly I forgot where the fuck I was going with that and had to come back. But, you know, okay, so being on the high side of being a millennial, as far as how old I am and when I was born, no, our generation hasn't gone through a war. No, well, we went through Iraq, but that's not a war. Let's fucking face it. That was a fucking disaster. Yes, a bunch of soldiers died, but for corporations, not for any other reason. Which could be arguable for the first 2 world wars also, but there's a lot of adversity that our age group has gone through. Okay, we've gone through 9/11 and we've gone through the Patriot Act. We've gone through the fucking recession in 2007 and the housing crisis. And you know, many of us were graduating at that time. I personally wasn't because I just didn't decide what to do with school. But many of my friends were, and their degrees were just absolutely useless. And the whole time, you know, we're watching our parents struggle. We're watching our parents' struggle, our friends' parents struggle. People are losing their homes, they're losing their cars, they're losing their like families because of divorce. I went through a divorce at the time. I had to sign my house back to the bank. I mean, it was a lot to process and handle as a 20-year-old after having so many of our individual rights taken away by the Patriot Act without us knowing fully what the extent of that would become. And now that we're 20 years beyond it, we will be next year, I believe, when the Patriot Act was actually enacted, we'll be 20 years beyond it. It's evident that no matter how much somebody thinks a fucking microchip is going to be put inside of them from a COVID vaccine, anybody who needs to find out who you are can find out who you are. Think about it. Everything you have on your phone is tied back to an Apple account or a Google account. In some rare cases, you might still have a flip phone because you're smart and you don't want anybody to be really tracking you all the time. However, many of us who are addicted to the internet and addicted to doom scrolling on our phones still have a device that's tracking everything that we do, up to the point where we invented an app a long time ago called Foursquare, where people were just checking in wherever they were. And guess what? B&Es rose at that point in time. Breaking and enterings rose during that period. No, I don't have actual stats. No, I'm not going to produce them. Yes, I might be wrong. I'll be open to talk about it, but I would be more than willing to bet that breaking and enterings were rising after that, because you've got people all over the country basically telling people where they go all the time when they're out. If you see them, you can figure out who they are on Facebook. If you overhear a name or anything in conversation, you got to be careful about the information you put out. I mean, people willy-nilly just put a bunch of fucking shit on the back of their car. I used to do it with my truck. I was a fucking idiot. I got my truck broken into twice just because I had an NRA sticker on it. And then fucking they assumed immediately I had a gun in the truck, which, no, I didn't. So thankfully, I never lost any of my firearms. But Jesus Christ, that's the kind of information you're giving people. Is it's like, hey, this guy obviously owns guns. A lot of people who own trucks put guns in their trucks. Why don't I find out? Oh, look, it's not locked because I live in a pretty peaceful neighborhood. Why would I lock my truck? Uh-oh, now all my shit's all rifled through and I'm trying to figure out why everything is in my driver's seat and in my passenger seat. Oh, because somebody tried to rob me. They left my change at least, which is good. And they didn't think to open the garage door, which is excellent. But lesson be learned. If somebody can get into your car and your car is connected to your garage, they can get into your house. And if you don't lock your garage door, they can get inside of your house. So, take care of your belongings. Anyway, millennials are going through hard times. And I'm sorry, but it's going to make us hard asses when we're in power. We're going to be narcissistic fucking neo-boomers. As much as we like to make fun of them now, it's going to happen. Now, I embrace being the neo-boomer. I have purchased what I have felt is my final home in terms of home base. Should I ever become fortunate, I will consider that at the time. But I will not move again unless I fucking am moving into a casket. And a lot of my neighbors feel the same way. And in our particular neighborhood, the boomers are moving out and the neo-boomers are moving in. And right now we're having to pay an arm and a leg to get into these houses because the market is so fucked that when you put an offer down, you better immediately expect to have to counteroffer by anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, depending on what you were offering on. And that can be on just a $150,000 house. That could be on a $300,000 house. It happens in every bracket where I talk to people who were looking for homes. Now, this was about 3-4 months ago, because that was around the time that I was looking to purchase my home. However, it is a testament to the fact that everything is cyclical. And what a lot of people don't understand is the things that happened in 2007 have actually not stopped. The term only changed. The behavior didn't. They just found a way to hide it and continue to do it. Kind of like naked short selling. We'll talk about that one time when I ever fully feel like understanding it. Oh, look at this bullshit Target ad. Look at our human employees on our red couch in our white, pristine surgical background. Look at their photographs of them hanging out. I'll never understand advertising. It's not for me. I just sit there and do whatever I can to make fun of it. It's fucking bullshit. Last week I talked about UFOs. I don't know if anybody really listened to that, and I'm not going to talk about it in depth right now, but like, speaking of fucking bullshit advertising, like, Demi Lovato has a UFO show. That actually has a pretty good ring to it. Demi Lovato UFO show. That's not the actual name of it. And anyway, why the fuck? But, I mean, UFOs, it's out there. It's what people want to talk about. I mean, you know. I don't remember how the recipe goes, but that's the X-Files. Neo-boomers, embrace it. That's what we're going to be. You may not like it. Ease into it. You don't have to like rush into it. I think they're, bad advertising. You want to talk about it. Those commercials by Progressive that aren't including Flo's fat ass. The one with the weird, goofy, old white dude who's basically saying that all of us are turning into our parents who are what? Basically considered the first neo-boomers, the babies of the baby boomers. And now we have become the neo-boomer. I'll have my house. I'll buy my second house. I'll buy a third house. I'll buy rental houses. I'll buy condos. I'll do all the shit that my parents' parents did and some of our parents did, and then act like it's not a problem. Hey, shit, when we went to the beach, we thought about buying a beach house immediately, and we looked at prices and we were like, wow, we actually could afford this within 4 to 5 years. And that was very shocking. I always thought beach houses were something that were extremely expensive, but now that you can Airbnb it or rent the shit out of it, once you calculate everything down, you actually end up making a great deal of money. So, it's something to consider. If you haven't bought your first house, maybe buy a beach house and then earn your way to your first house. So we'll wrap things up taking a look at Seattle's 2-minute drive here. They are on the yard line. I can't tell. About 43 maybe. Got a little run down to the 38. Timeout so the clock doesn't tick, 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 tick. See what comes up next. But yeah, I think the neo-boomers are going to be some hard asses. I think we're going to be some hard men and women. And theys and thems and whatevers and whoever's. Because we've gone through a lot of shit. We have dealt with virtually everything you can deal with, short of the planet being hit by a fucking asteroid. Okay? We've got millionaire entrepreneur CEOs going into space. NASA still has some of the smallest funding it's had in its history. They're having to write defensive letters to defend the things that they do while they're trying to launch the largest telescope that we've ever imagined in our entire lives, that is going to open up a deeper understanding of the universe that we have never comprehended ever before. I don't know how many people have looked into the new telescope, but you should, because it is going to produce some of the best images of the universe we're ever going to see until we come up with a bigger one. And it's the James Webb Space Telescope. So it will be overtaking what I believe was the Hubble. Yes, the Hubble. That tier 1 knowledge, right? So with the Hubble, we've been able to touch on things like dark matter, and we figured out the wobble around stars, and we figured out that those are planets. Now we're going to be able to go a step further, and honestly, we're going to be able to see even further back in time, because if you don't understand how a telescope works, what you're actually looking at, the deeper and deeper that you go, is the past. Because of the time that it takes for that light to travel to us. Yeah. Speaking of time, Seattle has 16 seconds. It's the second down, and they are on their final timeout. Let's see what down it is. Oh, we got a boxing promotion. Hey, you guys like to gamble? Call your fucking bookie. Put a bet down on Fury versus Wilder 3. Hey, how you doing? Hey, my bookie. 2nd and 1. 16 seconds. What does Russell Wilson do with the ball? What does the James Webb Space Telescope do for mankind? What lessons will we learn from deep space? We'll find Earth 2.0, people. We're going to find it. Then the question becomes, how do we get there? And how do we make it so that it's not like Wall-E, where everybody's a fucking fat fuck with bone degenerative issues who can't get out of a seat and don't know what is outside of the screen in front of them. It does sound kind of familiar, doesn't it, doom scrollers? Here we go, 2nd and 1. 3, 2, snap. Drops back. A little pressure. Comes forward. Touchdown! Seattle! Tyler Lockett. Locking it in. 14-3 if they make the field goal. LA. Oh, we got holding. Oh, no. Oh, no. Holding on the offense. We're going to take that one back. Oh, yep. There it is. That pressure that was coming to Russell. That's a hold. Well, see what happens there. That telescope, though, I'm really excited for it. The launch is coming up soon. It's on December 18th, which is cool. It's a pretty significant time of the year. You got Christmas time and, time to eat candy, cookies, dinner, all the yummy, yummy stuff out there. But yeah, it cost us $10 billion. $10 billion. I don't know how much it cost for Bezos to shoot his dick into space, but who knows? You got to time out LA. What a waste of time. It's fucking so stupid. Some of this pageantry at the end of a quarter, at the end of the 2-minute drill, the end of the fourth quarter. Football is so lame sometimes, man. It's exciting, though. It's exciting. When you get Agnew running back 109-yard rush, it's exciting. So, if you didn't know, space is something to be explored. It's something to be thought about. It's something to be understood. It's something that you should consider reading the book Cosmos by Carl Sagan. And if you don't want to read the book because you're illiterate, you should watch the old videos of Cosmos with Carl Sagan on YouTube. They're freely available. They are a jam and a gem. And may he rest in peace. Let's see what happens on 2nd and 11. 10 seconds to go. In the huddle, talking it out. Russell Wilson comes up. He's going to tell him what the fuck is going to happen. Listen. We got it in the first time. You motherfuckers don't hold this time. We'll get it in again. Let's go. Got ridiculous prevent defense. They're going to shoot for the sidelines and kick a field goal. Guaranteed. Here we go. Snap. Sidelines. Boom. Out of bounds. Here comes the field goal team. Fucking like pottery, people. You can just mold it every time. All right. Well, it has been real. I'm going to cut this one short a little bit this week. I don't really have much else to talk about other than neo-boomers are the new hard-ass motherfuckers who are going to be so far up their own asses because they're narcissistic as fuck that you're going to have to put up with us, and I'm not sorry. Peace.